how to balance the effects of winter with your diet and lifestyle. My name is Kaylee and I'm a certified nutritionist and gut health specialist, and I love helping people to heal their chronic gut issues at the root, to nourish their bodies with a great ancestral diet, and then to thrive in their health. So as the seasons change, that has a great effect on our body. So with winter, the days are growing darker, they're growing colder, the plants and animals are withdrawing. You'll see a lot of plants sort of die for the season. I forget what it's technically called. They'll lose their leaves and they'll move a lot of their energy and their nutrients down into the roots. You'll see a lot of animals start to hibernate, and it depends on where you are, where you live, but this is a common theme in winter. Now, it also starts to get chillier outside depending on where you live. It might be snowing, and it's often probably a lot colder where you are. It can be a little bit more dry as well. And yeah, so just as the plants and animals are affected by these seasonal changes, we are too. And this is going to be very reflective. The way we are affected is going to be reflective of the qualities of winter. So the qualities of winter are going to be cool, dry, light, rough, hard, clear, and mobile. So if these qualities become more dominant in ourselves, then they can lead to imbalances. So some common imbalances you can see in the wintertime can be constipation, stiff joints and bones, anxiety, dry skin and scalp, fatigue, and weight gain. So this doesn't mean you're going to get these. It's just if you are already prone to these things, if you notice you'll tend to be more prone in the winter, that's definitely something you're going to want to look out for, and then kind of take precautions ahead of time to avoid that. And I'll get into exactly what you can do for that in a second. As winter progresses, the mucus membranes in our body, so that's going to be in our sinuses, in our lungs, and in our intestines, are going to thicken. This is similar to how snow will start to build up around you, depending on where you live, not where I live, but where a lot of people live. The snow will start to build up just like that. And then in the spring, as the snow is melting away, we will lose some of that mucus in our bodies as well. So, see, similar to how plants will transfer a lot of their energy and nutrients down into their roots, we will transfer a lot of our energy and heat to our core. So this actually makes winter a time where our digestion is a lot stronger than in the summer. In the summer, when it's all hot out, your heat is kind of dispersed throughout your whole body. It's not centered in your core, in your gut, and your appetite is often lower. The winter, it's the opposite. So we bring our heat into the center to keep our vital organs warm, and that in turn strengthens our digestion. So we are really up for some hearty meats and root veggies and stews and warm foods like that in the wintertime. Let's see. Okay, so a big thing to note here is what I just described as a very northern wintry climate, but everywhere is different. So it's more important that you look around and notice the changes that are local to you specifically, and reflect on that as you're thinking about how to change your own routine as it becomes wintertime, and for any of the seasons as well. You always want to be thinking about what it is locally. So instead of taking what I say like word for word, doing exactly what it is, think about more how it applies to your local area. And then also note that every person is different on which seasons affect them more. Personally, the transition into fall affects me the most. That's a time that's more light and airy, and I made a whole video about fall and the effects of fall on our body, so I'll link that one up above. But that's the one I notice the most. I get a little bit more, I notice it in my mind. It's a little harder to settle down and stay calm and rooted. So notice that for you. If any of the things I've said so far, you're like, damn, that's me every winter, then you know this is something to look out for. Okay, so with that being said, let's get into what some of the things you can do to balance these effects of winter are. So the main overarching goal here is to balance the qualities of winter by introducing more of the opposite qualities. So the opposite qualities are going to be warmth, moisture, oiliness, heaviness, smoothness, softness, density, and stability. So how we actually can bring these qualities into our life, I will tell you a few different ways. So one is to sleep and rest more. The days are shorter, the nights are longer, and the plants and animals are kind of hibernating, so it makes sense that we need to take this time to be a little bit slower as well. Now, this is not an end-all be-all, just slow down because you need to, or because it's winter, so slow down. Always listen to your body. If you don't feel that need, you don't have to do this by any means. But a lot of people enjoy slowing down a little bit in the winter time and just not pushing it quite as hard. So that can be really helpful. It can also be nice to get a little bit more sleep during this time. It's very natural because our circadian rhythm follows the sun. So if the sun is taking longer to wake up and going to bed earlier, then we should too. So then another one is to spend time outside. And I mention this because it's so easy to spend lots of time outside in the summer and even in the spring and fall when the weather's really nice. And I think the weather's still gorgeous in the winter time, but it can be challenging sometimes if there's a lot of snow or a lot of rain or it's very cold, or even just that there's less daylight. It can be challenging. So making that extra effort to get out in nature, no matter what it is like where you live, is really, really important. It will make you so much happier if you're prone to seasonal affective disorder and you tend to get a little bit depressed or sad in the wintertime. This is a huge thing for you. Definitely get outside, get some sun if you can. That is really, really great for your mood. Also, it's just so pretty. Some of the most beautiful hikes and adventures I've been on have been in the wintertime. So another thing you can do is take warm baths or showers, sauna, steam room, jacuzzi, hot spring, anything like that falls under this. So it's going to be really supportive of your lymphatic system. So that's great because it helps prevent you from getting sick. Then it's also going to prevent that excess mucus buildup. We are going to naturally build up a little bit extra, but it's going to prevent our bodies from going too overboard. It's also just really, really warming and relaxing and calming, which really, really balance the effects of winter. You can also do massages with some sort of oil. Make sure it's a good one, not a seed oil. You could use something like coconut oil, or I like to use a homemade salve that I actually use beef tallow for. So it can be an animal fat as well, but massages are just very relaxing, and yeah, they're really, really great for winter. So then, they also help just kind of lock in the moisture, especially if you're prone to drying out during this time. So it's also a great time to reflect inward. So just as the plants and animals are withdrawing, we have this benefit in this time where we can really look inward, tune into our own bodies, and learn a lot from that. So I think the best practices for that are going to be journaling, meditating, and just making sure you have some quiet time to yourself, not trying to fill all the silences so that you can, think through your thoughts. So that's going to be a really, really nice practice to do anytime, but especially in winter. So then the next one I have is eating a nourishing seasonal diet. So I touched on this a little bit before. You want warm, hearty foods, lots of good animal foods. Think about what's local to you, what fruits and veggies are actually growing right now, if any. And then also, just think about what's local to you and what balances those qualities again. So a little bit more fatty foods are going to be really nice in the winter. Especially animal fats, good quality, healthy fats. So like a fattier cut of meat, like a chuck roast or something like that would be very nice. Cooked veggies, you really want warm things. You don't really want a lot of cold and raw things in the winter time. The tastes sour, sweet, and salty also help to bring more balance in the winter, so it's good to focus on those, but in a healthy way. So sweet from good fruits, and I think like pomegranates are usually seasonal around this time, so things like that, or cranberries, or oranges. Those kinds of fruits are going to be a good source of that sweet, salty, good quality salt, olives, things kind of like that. So then as winter progresses, It's good to add a little bit more bitter. Some of those greens will start to come into season, so it can be a nice time to add those, and just shifting a little less heavy as you move closer to spring. So that's another thing to note when I talk about how the seasons are affecting our body. It's not like, oh my God, now it's winter because the solstice just happened. I need to shift everything into winter mode. And then right when it turns to the spring equinox, boom, I'm going to shift everything into spring mode. That is not how it works. This is a very gradual thing. I have in the past gotten excited for fall and been like, oh my God, it's fall. I'm going to start with all the squashes and everything. When it was like still hot outside where I lived and I was still craving peaches and salads and fruits and tomatoes and cucumbers. So listen to your cravings. They will help guide you, and remember, this is a gradual shift. It's not like boom, it's winter, do all the winter things immediately. Let's see. Yeah, I guess another thing is just depending on where you live. If you live in a very snowy climate, if you live in a more northern climate, then you're probably going to benefit from a little bit more animal foods and less plant foods. That's going to be very natural to the area that you're in. If you live closer to the equator, then you can probably get away with some more plant foods. That will be okay, but you always still want to have a lot of animal foods in your diet. So if you want more specific food lists that actually go into the best meats and veggies and fruits and other foods like that to have during winter, I do have a food list of all of that in my article version of this video, where I talk a little bit more in depth about the effects of winter and all the things I just talked about. So I will link that article down below if you want to check out that winter food list and just kind of recap what I said in this video. And then if you would like more help on your health journey, specifically with healing your gut in an ancestral way, and by that I mean using an ancestral diet and holistic practices, then you'd probably be interested in my program, Ancestral Gut Healing, where I help people to heal their chronic gut issues at the root. I teach them the principles of ancestral nutrition, so eating nose to tail, properly preparing our plant foods, and really, really nourishing themselves through that. And yeah, basically I help you with that. So if you are interested, I will link a link down below where you can find out more about what I offer in my program specifically. And I'll also leave a link where you can book a call with me. So if you're interested in hearing more about what I offer or signing up, then you can go ahead and book a call with me and we can talk more about that. And I mentioned earlier, I made a video like this for fall. So currently while I'm posting this, it has just turned to winter, but if you're curious how fall affects you too, I will link that video over here and you can check out how fall affects your body and the things you can do to support your body when it turns to fall. So thank you for watching.